Sup, Earth Angels. Welcome back to Star Quality, and I'm your host, astrologer Stevie Goldstein. Welcome to the solar eclipse, everybody. I would normally be doing this episode of Star Quality via video, but I got eclipsed today myself, so this is going to be audio only. I will put an image of the solar eclipse chart for today up in the show notes on Substack, but yeah, mama's doing just audio today. I had a last minute doctor's appointment. I had a really emotional psychic reading. So normally I would try to get these lunation episodes out to you before the lunation, but we're going to be recording during it. Right now it's 11:39 a.m. Pacific, and this eclipse is going to be exact at, where's my little note? It's going to be exact at 11:49, so in 10 minutes. So we'll be in it, and by the time this is posted, it will, start to separate. But either way, glad you're here. And I'm really thankful I've made a space where I can be really transparent. We'll see if I cry in this episode or not. It's been a weepy time. Mars in Cancer. It's my Mars return. If you've been following some time, I'm dealing with the, final stages of my cat, Rosie, being Earth side. So it's just been a lot. And I think like the world, it feels like a lot right now. I don't know. If you're in the United States, the election and our involvement with ongoing, never-ending genocide and destabilization of the Middle East, it's just like, it sucks. And sucks is not even accurately describing all that. And then the devastation with Hurricane Helene and all the folks in Asheville and Georgia, like, dude, I don't want to get on here and just like, wah, like the world, but like sometimes it is just wah, the world. And this time last year when a lot of similar wah, the world things were going, that's just it. So this is also the last eclipse in Libra, in the Libra Aries series. We're gonna get one last one to send it off come March of 2025. But otherwise, we are about to really fully switch into that new eclipse series in Virgo and Pisces. But until then, we're going to talk about today's Libra solar eclipse. I do have 2 questions that subscribers submitted about this eclipse. I'm going to answer those first. But before I do, I must simply tell you why we're here and what we're doing. So this is Star Quality, a podcast and newsletter that I have through Substack, but you can listen on any audio platform, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatevs. And this first chunk will be free for all. There will always be free stuff for you, free writings, free podcasts, but there will be a paywall eventually during this episode. So if you hit that paywall, I'd love for you to join me on the other side, and for $7.77 a month. So basically with tip, at least here in Los Angeles, the cost of buying me an iced oat milk latte, you can support the work I'm doing here, which I'm researching, reporting, synthesizing, and hopefully healing. Like, healing has been the really huge word that keeps coming up in all my psychic readings, of embracing that, like, there's healing qualities to doing stuff like this. And I think sometimes I even undermine the work I do. And I don't know if y'all relate in your own lives of like, putting, my little thing, or I just do this, or my little podcast, or my little newsletter. And I think, this reading I had earlier, and also just thinking about the grand scheme of the world, it's like, actually, why the fuck am I undermining anything? So anyways, it's not a little podcast. This is my podcast, and I would love for you to support me there. So, and there's also a 7-day free trial if you want to check it out before you commit. Totally get it. Or if you want to, be a supporter for a short period of time and come back, I absolutely, if anyone gets it, it's me. So let me give you the stats of this eclipse before I get to these questions. So I'm going to do a chart breakdown of the eclipse chart. And right now, this eclipse has happened at October 2nd, 2024 at 11:49 a.m. Pacific. So adjust for your time zone wherever you are. When I put up the chart image in the show notes, it's going to show the rising sign for where I'm based in Los Angeles, but that's going to change depending on where you're located. So don't put too much stock into that, even though it can be interesting to see, your city chart and what the energy might hold with that. So the big thing we got going on here, since it's a solar new moon eclipse, that is when the sun and moon are together. And because we have the node here, this is part of the eclipse energy. We also have Mercury a degree away. So this sun and moon are at 10 degrees of Libra. The Mercury is at 11. The south node is at 6. Some other notable things for this chart, we have Mars in Cancer, as we do, and it's been squaring that sun, moon, Mercury. So I'm not shocked. This is the form I'm showing up in today. And what else? We have, as I mentioned in the weekly forecast, so also subscribers get the weekly forecast, what's up with the sky right now, that comes out every Monday on my Substack, which breaks down the day by day of the week ahead. It's really helpful just to get an energy temperature check of what might be a great day for romance, what might be like pump the brakes. It's kind of a sleepy day. Of course, we have free will, so do what you want. But that's a breakdown there. And I mentioned that in my week ahead forecast that we are having this big water trine this entire week, and that's been really flavoring not only this eclipse, but just the whole week. And so that's when we have a grand trine, it's where we have 3 planets in each water sign. So Mars in Cancer, water sign 1, Venus in Scorpio, water sign 2, and Saturn in Pisces, water sign 3. And not only are they in these signs, but they're at the degrees that is close enough to make the trine aspect with all 3 of them. So they're in this big 3-way conversation with each other. 11 degrees Venus Scorpio, 15 degrees Cancer Mars, and 14 degrees Saturn in Pisces. So before I kind of break that down, I wanted to answer these questions really quick from subscribers that were in the thread chat of my publication. This question asks, with the Libra eclipse cycle ending, would we refer to where Libra falls in our chart and expect those themes to come to an end or close? Also, there's more in this message. Love the Venus Things episode. And I forgot when I asked for eclipse questions, I also mentioned we could discuss Lana Del Rey's wedding, because I talked about it in my last episode, Venus Things, where I do pop culture breakdowns. So they also wrote, I was kind of shocked because last I heard about the Gator guy, some girl on Twitter claimed to be his daughter and had some negative commentary about it. That was months ago, though. Okay, before getting the eclipse thing, it was debunked that was not his daughter. So just a heads up. His ex-fiance seems to be speaking quite a bit to the press. If you don't know, Lana Del Rey got married on a somewhat whim. It seems like she's been maybe dating this guy since March, which is like, hello, other eclipse. And he's a March baby too, so he's really getting eclipsed in a positive way with the North Node in Aries, and he's an Aries sun. But yeah, so she had an eclipse wedding on the 26th of September, and marrying a guy relatively quick, for our general population consensus. So eclipse marriages aren't always recommended, but I think the eclipses I've had like really cool projects start on eclipses, and I think what eclipses do, and I've always heard this about eclipses, but I've been really just seeing this as a testament of like, yeah, this is what they do, is like they accelerate the timeline. If you like, I had someone in my life who applied for a job months ago. All of a sudden in this eclipse season, they want to meet with them, talk with them, do it right now. And it's like, it can really accelerate those things. Back to, are we going to see endings based on where Libra is in our chart? I think it's highly possible, because we keep talking about endings a lot with this specific eclipse cycle with Libra, because it is the final one in Libra. It's connected to the South Node, which does have to do with undoings or moving away from any past circumstances. So I don't think, it's not a 100% guarantee everything is going to be an end, but I do think that it is a review. And so wherever you have Libra in your chart may need at the very least a check-in, especially if it's related to other people, because it's related to Libra. I can use my chart as an example. I'm a Cancer rising. My 4th house is Libra. When I saw the eclipses were coming up and I was like, oh my God, am I going to move? Or like, it's in my 4th house. It's in my space of security. It's in my, the foundation of my chart. And of course, because astrology's literal as hell sometimes, that has been really big conversations with me and my husband, just of like, okay, like, how are we liking our place? Like, where do we see ourselves? Questions related around finances and planning ahead in the future, and like making sure our home is always a place of love and balance that works for us, and we're not just settling, and not just being like, it's fine. Lucky for me, he and I are both like allergic to, it's okay. Like it's fine at best. And I think that's actually really been our situation reflected, is that nothing's really wrong, but where could things be better? And it's really related to like the home space, like things that we still want, like we love our location, but I've always wanted a yard and we don't have a yard. Like I've always loved this, but he wants that. And I want more. I like our space and layout, but I don't have room to host, and I would like to throw more parties. So it hasn't ended anything, and I don't think it's gonna end anything during this. Like maybe we'll see. I guess we'll check back, and this is the great part of having this space to reflect. But I think as the South Node will move into Virgo, I mean, doesn't that put those Libra compromises and plan of actions into like an actual, like, how do we do this? Because all the astrology builds on itself, right? Like we're not just done with this Libra shit just because it will move on, eventually. So, especially not now in Libra season. So, can the themes of that house expect endings and closing? Very possible. At the very least, I ask you to have a conversation, especially if it's related to other people, on how's it going? Is this good for you? Is this good for me? And what ways can it improve and be better? Okay, the second question, I guess, is mainly about Alana question, but this person wrote in, this eclipse already has me exhausted. Libra stellium. Oh, yeah, I bet. Also, so many questions about Lana's wedding with a little, like, detective monocle. Not really a detective, the monocle emoji. Portal weddings got to be interesting. I sort of touched on that in the first question. Yeah, eclipses and full moons in general. I mean, I know we're not in a full moon right now. We're in a new moon, but eclipses and full moons and major lunations can be just a real energy suck. So maybe corny advice, but a great reminder: drink a lot of water, go a little slower, eat healthy foods. Like it's easy to like go into rotting mode, but as best we can not to rot is encouraged. Yeah, eclipse weddings, again, would I pick one as an astrologer if you gave me a bunch of dates to elect? Probably not. I don't think there's any. I mean, I would do an eclipse wedding over a Venus retrograde wedding, personally. So, there's checks and balances, and maybe I would pick an eclipse wedding over like a wedding that has just really bad, and there's no bad planets, we get it, but like for a date selection, if we can pick the most optimum, there's less optimum times. Like I want to make sure Venus and the moon like are happy, like there's that to this. So I do think the eclipse weddings and just eclipse events do really give big insight of like, it being a lot at once, and there's a lot of intensity, and it's like it probably feels, I'm sure, for Lana and her beau, like they've maybe known each other for a lifetime. I mean, I know that they met in 2019. Like that's like the first photo she posted of him just being a guest on his boat. Maybe there was like unfinished business or karma that really just got accelerated here in 2024. So, and also sometimes you're just like, fuck it. Like, especially for celebs, like just have some fun. It's fine. Like I think a lot of people fear, and this is very Libra season, the commitment to another, right? Like, oh my God, it's going to be forever. It's like, I guess in theory, but like, how many, like, we're human beings. Like, we see how relationships go. How many really last forever? There's so many different seasons of our life, and to limit yourself because of this future, it's like kind of just defeats the point in my perspective. Okay, so let's get into this chart itself because it's quite juicy, especially this Libra pileup we have in general. I just wrote down, I feel like the theme, at least one of the major themes with this Libra eclipse, as it's really, highlighting and amplifying this part, especially coming back to those themes of release, or like, this needs to update, this needs to change, maybe we need to, I always think of the South Node in the chart as where we already know how to do that. Like, we got it. We know how to do Libra shit right now. We're being asked astrologically to do more Aries stuff with the North Node, to do things that are a little more riskier, a little more, that just prioritize ourselves. And I think Aries gets that selfish rap, but what's the opposite is selfless, like, so when I see this pile up with Mercury, how we're thinking, how we're communicating, how we're expressing with the sun, our consciousness, the moon, the subconsciousness, the South Node, this release, there feels like we need to commit at least for the rest of the year, or at least until next eclipse season, to kill the imaginary conversations we're having in our head with others. Hello, it's the paywall speaking. Thanks for listening to the first chunk. If you would like to listen to the rest of this episode and the chart breakdown of the solar eclipse, then please consider joining my third space on Substack. That's starquality.substack.com. Please join me over there for full episodes, weekly forecasts, all the stuff. I appreciate you supporting my work. Have a great eclipse.